So, if something happened to you tonight, who would you call? And more importantly, who would actually show up? Most of us have emergency contacts. Very few of us have emergency communities. And the difference can change everything. Today, I want to introduce you to a concept I call a safety pod, a practical tool for building collective care, community resilience, and non carceral safety. Because safety is too important to outsource to be an afterthought, especially in a world where the safety infrastructures available are simply trash options. Garbage. Peace, Internet. My name is Alasia. Here we explore rooted self-defense, community resilience, and liberated futures. Excuse me cringily reading off of my tablet. It's the only way I do not rant. I'm working on it. I'm a baby to this content creation thing, so bear with me. Bear with me. Not too much. Not too much. I'm sensitive. Like Erykah Badu said, I'm an artist, and I'm sensitive about my ish. Okay, because safety is something we practice, and freedom is something we build. Also, it's New York City, so you may hear a little background noise. We in the Heights. It's lit outside. I don't know what to tell you. Um, one thing I've learned is that safety doesn't begin when something goes wrong. Safety begins long before crisis. It begins in relationship, it begins in preparation, and it begins in community. And that's where safety pods come in. So you must be asking, what is a safety pod? Girl, what's that? You making shit up. A safety pod is a small group of trusted people who intentionally agree to support one another before, during, and after moments of crisis. Not just emergencies, real life. Medical emergencies, harassment, housing instability, Lord knows we know that. Burnout, relationship violence, mental health crisis, systemic oppression, childcare challenges, and community conflict. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is reducing isolation. Because isolation makes people vulnerable and connection makes people resilient. So a safety pod is not a vigilante group. It is not a replacement for professional services. It is not a friend group chat. It is not controlling one another. It's about intentional support, clear agreements, shared responsibility, and proactive care. Why is it essential? Many of us were taught that safety comes from institutions. But institutions often arrive after harm has already happened. And in most cases, heightens the harm and makes it worse, right? Safety pods ask different questions. What if we invested in people around us before crisis arrived? What if we practiced showing up for each other? What if care can become infrastructure? So here are the 5 core roles of a safety pod. Safety pods can include some version of these roles. A check-in person, the person who notices when you've gone quiet, very important. Second, a logistics person for transportation, food, childcare, supplies, the plug, basically. Resource connector, number 3. Who's actually really the plug? Someone who knows where help lives. Somebody that knows the tea. Somebody knows where the things are. Who's got what? Who can connect the things. Number 4, the advocate. Someone who accompanies you and helps you navigate difficult situations. Sometimes you just need somebody to be there with you, and that's all the support you need. 5, a wellness person. Someone who helps you regulate and recover. One person can fill multiple roles. The point is not perfection. The point is clarity. Clarity. So you must be saying to yourself, this all sounds great. This sounds cute. But where do I start? I got you, boo boo. Don't worry, I got you. So how do we start? Step one, choose 3 to 5 people that you trust. People that are true to their word, people that say they're gonna be somewhere and are actually there. Blink, blink, blink. Step two, have an honest conversation. Be candid. What support can each person realistically offer? And what is the real capacity? Because we all have an idea of what we think our capacity is, but then when it comes down to it, it don't be given. I suffer from this. It's something that I'm working through myself. Is knowing when my capacity is spent and when I have no more to give. Okay. Step three, create a shared contact sheet. For extra safety, this can be encrypted on something like a CryptPad or some sort of encrypted server, right? But this is where folks know who to contact. Like if something were to happen to me, ideally someone in my safety pod will have contact with my parents so they know they can be in touch with them and inform them of the situation. Step four, I can count, I swear. Discuss boundaries. So what things folks are not to share, etc. So in that same example, there are some things that if in case of an emergency, I may not want my parents to know. And I need my safety pod people to know that. Step five, practice, 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 practice. Okay? Do a hypothetical scenario together. This can be a fun exercise that can make a serious or playful, that can be as serious or playful as you would like. The idea is to role play. So the first time y'all have to form like Voltron, it isn't in the thick of a real emergency. You don't want to be practicing this ish when real like lives are on the line and things, right? Don't wait for crisis to test your system. Make a game out of it. Something that we unfortunately grow out of in the society in which we live is play. Play is essential for our learning. That's why children learn so well, because they play. Play is what our brain needs to actually learn new concepts. So we have to try these things. Make it happen, Captain. Okay? So now I've got a little story time for you. Trigger warning though, because these stories do discuss suicide. So if you are sensitive to that conversation, fair enough, it's a heavy conversation. You can go ahead and skip over this section because we're going to be discussing suicide and suicide attempts here. So come back with me to my story time. So I've unfortunately had 2 comrades who have attempted suicide. One, gladly, was unsuccessful, and the other, more tragically, was successful in their attempt. So with that said, my comrade who was unsuccessful in taking their life was found by someone we would consider a check-in person. I was an advocate in the situation. After this attempt, this friend had a lovely community of friends and chosen family who acted as a logistics team, creating a WhatsApp group for all of us to coordinate with one another, for them to stay with us, with all of us different people in the community for the next 3 weeks. They were not left alone for that entire period of time. Unfortunately, my comrade who was successful in their attempt started to isolate themselves. And our community thought that they simply needed space. We didn't have the infrastructure or knowledge to see the patterns that led to their decision, sadly. It's been a few years, and I've come to terms with the fact that this was their decision, and I've worked through the blame we all felt as a community for not being able to protect them from this decision. Thank you, therapy. This video is not yet sponsored. However, if there's one of them therapy groups out there that want to sponsor this video, go on right ahead. Because the people need therapy, okay? I surely did. The experience happened well before I began thinking and living into this safety pod concept. However, I can't help but think about how different things could have been if we had a wellness person, a check in person, a resource connector, or advocate for my dear comrade. Rest in power to them. I love you so much. So, with all that said, the future we're building cannot depend entirely on strangers, and especially not entirely on strangers with badges and guns. Definitely not them. You know what I mean? We cannot rely on them for our safety. That's a dub. Capital D-U-B, dub. Finished. Cap. Okay? It must be rooted in relationship. Our futures must be rooted in relationship. A safety pod won't solve every problem, but it can make sure nobody faces those problems alone. And that's essential. Because community care is not a vibe, it's a survival skill. Hear me? It's a survival skill. And like every skill, it requires practice to get good at it. So, if this video is helpful, comment safety pod below or the little pod emoji. I love that emoji. If enough people are interested, I'll create a free safety pod starter kit and walk you through building one step by step in another video. With that said, subscribe, baby. Subscribe. Hit that like and subscribe. Hit that little clicky. Okay? This is where we talk about rooted community defense, embodied safety, and the skills we need to build liberated futures. Until next time, train your body, protect your spirit, and build your people. And of course, 12. Love you. Bye.